I was pretty badass back in my day. I was quite the rebel. Um, I got involved with the wrong crowd. We started using and abusing alcohol and drugs. And during that time period of my life, I was with this white woman named Sierra, and we were young, we were still in high school, and we were using cocaine, and we were using white, and we would party, and we were pretty close, but luckily I don't talk to her no more. I don't know where she's at in life. I don't know if she's using. If she sees this, I hope that you're not using. I pray to God that you're not using. But back in the day, that was what we chose to do with our time. And so me and Sierra, we were using cocaine back in the early 2000s. And our relationship started to spiral in a downward path. And I was geeking, and I was looking out windows, and I was, yelling at her, calling her a whore, and you're a whore, and I gotta watch my back, and I was just totally geeking, because I was high. We were using white, and it's hard to focus when you're geeking. So I wasn't in any state of mind, and I started, stealing from her, and I started abusing her over drugs and alcohol and money, and I cared more about my high than I did our relationship. And Sierra ended up leaving me because I became abusive, and I became addicted to drugs and alcohol, and she wanted to separate herself from my life and my mental health issues. My life was spiraling down a horrible path, and the best way that Sierra knew to cope with my mental health issues is to separate herself from my life, and that's her. But I mean, like, if she sees this, I hope she's not using. God watch over both of us. Luckily, I'm sober. I've been sober for years now. But so eventually me and Sierra broke up, and eventually I stopped using cocaine because my dealer and we were arguing at the time. We really weren't talking, and I didn't know anybody at the time, and I didn't have any connections. And the stuff I tried to get after my guy stopped talking to me was stepped on, and I didn't want to waste money. And luckily, I didn't know anybody in the neighborhood that sells hard, and so it's not sold in the streets. So it's this guessing game, and I didn't want involved with it. So luckily, I stopped using. Now that was in my high school days when I dropped out. So eventually, I grew up after I dropped out of high school and stopped using, because me and my dealer got into an altercation and we stopped talking to each other. So I stopped using altogether. And After high school, I lived with my mother. And then eventually she kicked me out because I was just too old and I was living with my mother. And I was homeless. So after I dropped out of high school, I ended up becoming homeless. And that's when I started using again. I was so used to cocaine. I figured, well, let's smoke crack because I never did crack. I never smoked hard. See what's up with the eam. See if I could get some eam. You know what I mean? So I'm homeless. I'm staying at this one ran down restaurant / hotel called the Alva in Harrisburg near the train station. And that's fucking Cocaine City, man. There, it's a bad homeless situation. And I didn't know where I was at the time. It was just a place where I could smoke weed peacefully and not get in any trouble. But I surely found out that it's Cocaine City down there in Tent City. So anyway, man, I ran into this this white dude, this older white dude, and he and I ended up, we started talking about crack cocaine, and he ended up getting some, I bought some, and we were smoking and smoking, and I was smoking that crack, you know, I got the drip, and the dealer man was like, well, that's all I got, and I didn't have no more money, so he left, and I just laid there on my bed, and I just kind of stared at the wall for hours until I went to bed. And that's when I smoked that yeller, you know what I mean? But so that was that. And I also did wet. I don't know if anybody's familiar with wet. It's embalming fluid. And but the Lord saved me from that, and I don't use anymore. I had a heart scare, and I promised the Lord if I survived this heart scare, that I would never use hard again. And, you know, my brothers, you know, who I chill with, you know, they still offer me shit, you know, but I tell them, man, now since my heart scare, you know, I'm trying to turn a negative into a positive and, you know, start a whole new leaf. It's a good thing. Right now, I'm currently smoking a joint and drinking a Pepsi. And that's about all I do. Sometimes I go to the bar, drink occasionally. I don't get wasted anymore. You know, I gave my life to God, and I put my trust in the mental health system, and I started receiving treatment for schizophrenia, which I was diagnosed with schizophrenia because, again, I was pretty badass back in the day, and I was quite the renegade back in the day, and I was doing a bunch of illegal substances, and I was doing a bunch of illegal crimes, petty shit, and the good Lord gave me schizophrenia because, again, me and Sierra got into a lot of fights over drugs and alcohol, and I was involved in crimes, and I was involved with drugs and alcohol, and the good Lord one day decided that I deserved to get schizophrenia. But I'm healed from schizophrenia. I haven't been using. I haven't been drinking. I drink occasionally. I smoke herb, smoke that weed. I don't use hard, again, because of my heart scare. I promise the Lord I would never do that again. But yeah, and again, this whole time I'm partying, whatever. My mom's in the background at church. She's in the background at work, and she's praying for me, and she's providing for me, making me a life. And eventually I thought, man, my mom really cares about me. I should make her proud. All that love she showed me. I don't know why. Some of my family members love me still. I'm happy that they do, but I don't deserve it, you know, because, again, I was a badass and I was quite the renegade. And I did what I did, and I paid for it 7 times. You know, hopefully the Lord gives me salvation. But yeah, that's my story. Right now, I have my own place. I'm staying clean. My place is furnished. I have beautiful neighbors. I live in a beautiful neighborhood. I'm with my mom. Everything's good, man. Thank God.